Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Doctrines podcast. I'm your host, Logan Schultz, and today we have with me, as always, my co-host, Cody. How are you doing
Howdy.
today?
Doing great.
All right, well, today, of course, we are talking to you about the news of the Bad Batch series that was just announced here on Disney Plus, or it's likely to be coming to our Disney Plus in 2021. Well, I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm sure you are as well, Cody.
Absolutely. I couldn't be more pumped. This is going to be a really fun spin-off, I think.
Agreed. I think it'll be interesting to see just obviously the Bad Batch is a very unique setup just by itself entirely, and then getting to see where they are now and see more about them will be interesting for sure.
Yeah,
Do you
absolutely.
have
I
a?
can say
Oh
I can
yeah,
go
go
ahead
ahead.
and kind of read the little introduction given by StarWars.com for this, and then maybe we can dive into some of our ideas, thoughts, and some of the comments and things like that we've seen.
All right.
So StarWars.com said this, obviously that it is dropping to Disney Plus streaming service in 2021. That's all we know so far. I don't have a month or anything. But it says the series follows the elite and experimental clones of the Bad Batch, first introduced in the Clone Wars, as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath. Members of the Bad Batch, a unique squad of clones who vary genetically from others in the army, which possess a singular, exceptional skill, which makes them extraordinary soldiers and a formidable class in the post-Clone War era take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat. So that's StarWars.com's vague but pretty cool description of what we're going to be getting for the Bad Batch. Logan, anything you caught in there or want to talk about from that?
I just think it's interesting to see the concept of clones moving on past Order 66. So that's definitely something that will be interesting to see. How will Order 66 affect these clones? Do they have inhibitor chips? They're not assigned to any Jedi in particular, so are they supposed to
Yeah,
kill any Jedi? Will that just not affect them at all? Um,
yeah, that's a
One
very good
thing I
point. I
thought
didn't
that was
think of
actually
that.
would be interesting is we have Echo who's with the Bad Batch now, right? And
Right, right.
so he's your normal clone, right? So he would have had an inhibitor chip, but at the same point, I wondered the dude's had a bunch of crap in his head recently, so maybe he's with all of that crazy wiring and electronics going on in his head that broke it or doesn't let it to work anymore. I don't know how you would phrase that, but so maybe they'll all just not really have that problem. That'd be kind of interesting to see them dive into that at all.
Yeah, I think I saw a comment, and I really don't remember where. I don't know if it was on our post or another, but someone had said something along the lines of perhaps that's how they'll discover their inhibitor chips is by, you know, doing extensive stuff with Echo and trying to make sure he's okay, and maybe, one of the tech. Well, what's the tech guy's name? I'm totally blanking it.
Tech, isn't it?
Tech. It's literally Tech. I think you might be right.
I'm pretty sure we call him Tech.
Maybe he discovers the inhibitor chips just while doing maintenance on Echo and making sure he's good and stuff like that, or maybe his chip bugs out weird because of the stuff that he's had going on, and maybe that's one way they discover them to remove them. Um, and I think when we posted, I originally had said that that's one of the things I look forward most to is seeing how they discover their inhibitor chips, if they do, which I'm assuming they do. Um, like we kind of discussed, it'd be pretty far fetched to think that they would become stormtroopers, um, if they and that they
Right,
would
and
execute Order 66.
that kind of vibe we got with that quote unquote being mercenaries, that definitely seems to, you know, as vague as that is, give us a little bit of a confirmation that hey, they're likely going to be out doing their own thing. Um, so
Yeah, I mean, if they were stormtroopers, yeah, they wouldn't be going on mercenary missions and trying to stay afloat and find new purpose, right? Like stormtroopers already know their purpose; they're just repurposed clones. At least the first batch of stormtroopers were clones, and so yeah,
right,
it just doesn't fit the description. I have seen a couple of discussions going around. People think that maybe they would become stormtroopers, but I don't. I'm not saying that wouldn't be cool, but I don't think that's the direction they're going to go.
agreed. And then I guess something I thought was kind of interesting was when we were looking at this, one of the other things that was, of course, announced was who was going to be behind this project. And Dave
Yeah.
Filoni, shocker, he's going to be involved. I know he's never involved in Star Wars animation projects,
Just the good
but
ones.
just the good ones. There you go. But he is going to be the executive producer for the show, which is kind of interesting because he has, worked in a producer role before, but a lot of times he also was what was called the head director, lead, the supervising director for the series. This time around, he's not going to be the supervising director. They're instead actually enlisting Brad Rao, who worked with Filoni on Rebels as a director in a couple episodes and writer, but also was primarily responsible for Star Wars Resistance. Did a lot of
Mhm.
that show as the writer and director himself. So most of Resistance was this guy. So I guess Disney liked what they saw, and Filoni liked what he did, and he's now put in place as a supervising director. And then we have Jennifer Corbett, I believe is how you say that, and she's going to be serving as the head writer. And she did work on Star Wars Resistance with Brad, and she wrote a few episodes of that. And then actually, I think it's about the last season or second to last season of NCIS, she worked on NCIS as a writer. So definitely
Oh,
have
very good.
a cool cast of people who are experienced in Star Wars animation with working on various projects and a Resistance. And I like, of course, having Dave Filoni as an executive producer, but it will be interesting having him not be the
Like a
supervising
director.
director of like the sequel to his own stuff.
Right. Yeah. I don't and I don't think that should scare anyone personally. I know that that could be like a natural reaction to kind of say like, well, maybe you didn't enjoy Resistance because I wasn't as big of a fan of Resistance like I love Clone Wars and Rebels. But I don't think that should scare
Right.
anyone personally because Dave Filoni's still going to be heavily involved, and it's also a different target audience in my opinion. They're going to know that majority of the people watching this show were fans of Clone Wars. It's different than Resistance where you know, I felt like Resistance was a little heavier targeted at younger kids. I mean, All Stars is to a degree, but I think that this will be more of a Clone Wars fill, even though some of the Resistance writers are on it. Dave Filoni trusts them, and he's going to make sure it goes the way he wants it to. So I don't get worried about that, although I know some people might.
Right. So exactly what you're saying is, I mean, just an interesting, just something to point out is Brad did work on Rebels, which was actually still probably a little younger than Star Wars, the Clone Wars, but it was probably still aimed at a more mature audience than Resistance.
Resistance,
And
right?
I mean, these guys are adults. Jennifer worked on NCIS. They can write more adult things, and I do think that, like you said, it probably won't be as targeted toward the a younger audience. I mean, they still keep it kid friendly. It's a cartoon
Yeah.
after all.
I mean, they set a tone for what the Bad Batch is in the first arc of
Right.
this final season, and they were violent. I mean, they were they were. I mean, to droids, right? But they were, talking about how many droids they could kill and who could get the most clankers, things like that. It was a lot of fun. And I think they'll continue with that and have the same personalities and everything. And there's a good vast personalities between these characters to have a pretty fun show. I mean, we have to deal with Wrecker, who kind of drives me nuts with his, childishness. But at the
He's
end
a
of the
little
day,
crazy, but
yeah, at the end of the day, it's definitely not that bad at all. So it'll be fun. Um,
exactly.
yeah, so I guess like what are you know from from your thoughts and stuff? Is there anything you're excited for or looking forward to most about this news about seeing this show?
Well, I am going to be honest. I thought it was kind of funny because we did a podcast, I think with Eben Hawk podcast, where we talked about the concept of will there be more Clone Wars? And I think this is
Yeah,
like a funny middle ground where I think you and I both were like, I mean, I think they've done what they plan to do with the Clone Wars, and
right.
this legitimately isn't the Clone Wars. It's taking place after the Clone Wars, but it is a kind of a fun middle ground of, well, basically it's Clone Wars Part 2, but or the
Yeah,
Clone Wars is a
exactly.
sequel. So
Yeah,
I'm surprised that they went this direction, and I think it'll be interesting. It wasn't what I was necessarily hoping for, um,
right.
but I think it has the potential to be fun. I think the cast of the Bad Batch is so intriguing. Um, I think the concept of having a super overpowered clones is kind of weird, but at the same point, I mean, it just worked really well together when they brought them in. You know, they had their distinctive personalities. They worked as like the A team from, I guess, the old TV show,
Yeah,
as an elite task force, and they're pretty cool and they're fun. You know, at the end of the day, it was just a really fun, cool mercenary. They had that mercenary vibe to them before even they're gonna be mercenaries. So I'm excited for that vibe because the vibe was really cool.
yeah. I like the team vibe they have. Like you know that when a tech project's gonna be involved, that tech's gonna handle that side of it. You know Wrecker's gonna wreck, and you know Crosshair's gonna snipe, and it's like he's the marksman. They each have their roles, and that makes it a lot of fun when when you see them working together like that. And I'm actually excited too to see Echo kind of integrated into that as well, which obviously is going to fit in great, and um, it, it'll just be interesting to see. No, I'm excited for that. As far as like what I'm looking forward to most, I did say earlier that I uh, am very excited to see what they do as far as their inhibitor chips, and then also along that same line, um, once I'm hoping we get to see, Order 66 from wherever they are in the galaxy, and I would like to see maybe Echo if he's trying to reach out to Rex and see it from that side. Because I was always kind of like, man, we want to know how Rex meets up with Gregor and Wolf and the other clones. But I'm like, it'd be kind of cool to see it from the
Right.
outside looking in as well. Maybe Echo is reaching out to Rex, and maybe we get to learn that Rex maybe they come in contact. I don't know, and maybe Rex tells him, "Yeah, I'm looking for other clones." And maybe there's some connections there, and that's we find out how he came to contact with Wolf. Maybe Echo comes in contact with them as well. So that's
Yeah,
cool. Obviously,
that was
go ahead.
exactly what I was thinking. I like that concept of finding Wolf and Gregor, and I think that'd be super interesting to have, um, like Echo and the Bad Batch find them. That would be interesting. Like they hook them up, they rescue them because I think when I guess we get to see when Rex is like, "Hey, I'm not gonna kill my Jedi, right? That's bad." All the other clones are gonna kill him for treason, which is fairly reasonable.
Right.
But Rex wouldn't have survived without Ahsoka. So maybe when Gregor and Wolf kind of are on that, trying to figure out exactly what do they do when Order 66 happens, because apparently they don't
Yeah.
kill their Jedi. So what happened, and how were they able to survive? Because like I was saying, Rex wouldn't have been able to survive without Ahsoka.
It's a good point.
The rest
Yeah,
of the
the
troopers would have killed him.
too many too many clones to overwhelm them. Yeah, I don't know. With the Bad Batch too, they could be completely isolated, nowhere near other clones. You never know. But yeah, Gregor and Wolf, like you said, they that's a good point. Um, yeah, that'd be fun. Hopefully, they will explore that. I can't imagine them not exploring that. It definitely seems like a good place to go. Um,
That was my one thing when I was like, I think I'm kind of done with Clone Wars because they told a lot of good stories, but I wish I found out
this
about
right?
Gregor and
Yeah, and
exactly.
obviously, people are already talking about how there's a potential to run to Ahsoka, and that's always the case. With Star Wars fans right now. So that's cool. There's just a lot
Especially
of
if Dave Filoni's
potential.
involved.
Oh,
Ahsoka, she
exactly.
could show up.
She could. There's a 99% chance. No, but there's so many possible character run-ins and tie-ins that are exciting to me, even outside of that. Just with the time period with Rebels getting ready to. I mean, this is immediately after Clone Wars, which is another thing that's really exciting. This is taking place immediately after Clone Wars. It says so. It'll be interesting to see what characters from the Rebellion era we get to meet and run into, and how that all plays into effect. Maybe it will be less than we expect, and they'll just kind of have them doing their own missions with new characters. But I'm sure there'll be some. Um, but I was going to talk about too the Kashyyyk arc that was kind of in development for Clone Wars was actually canceled. And they actually had the Bad Batch planned for a Kashyyyk arc where they were going to go to Kashyyyk to help the Wookiees. What about the droid attack on the Wookiees? Um, but
Exactly. That's very
apparently,
important.
apparently Echo, had some new armor in it, and he was with the Bad Batch, and they were helping with the Wookiees. And I'm like, that'd be cool. Maybe that's where they were around the Order 66 time, um, with on the planet there, and Yoda and Greed and all that decapitating and stuff like that. Maybe they're around that, or maybe that's a totally different time period. I don't know, but I hope that they bring that into effect, just because I would love to see some Chewbacca and Tarful um, and
That'd
Kashyyyk
be
in
interesting.
general. Um, yeah, exactly, and it could be a good way to start off the series if they're going to start it off right after Order 66, right after the Clone Wars ends. I hope they kind of show, you know, a pre Order 66, right, as it's about to happen kind of thing. So
Yeah,
that'd be really
transition
cool.
period.
Yeah. Well, and just thinking along storylines and things like that. If they're going to be on these mercenary missions, it'd be cool if they had some cool allies like, Tarful, Chewbacca, um, and then that obviously brings in like the underworld to me. You know, Boba Fett, those kind of guys, Bosk. I mean, who are out kind of doing their own. I don't know if mercenary is the right word for them, but bounty hunting and things like that. They could have run-ins with those guys because it's a very, I don't know. It's I wouldn't imagine they're battling the Empire, but I guess maybe they could be. I felt like they'd be more on their own, kind of doing, like you said, mercenary
Right.
missions. I don't know.
One thing I
But
do find will
maybe
be
they are.
interesting is it is it is a very fun time period, and I think this will be one of the first times that we get to take a glimpse of what's happening immediately as the Empire's coming in, which is, I think, the only real piece of information we have about that time period right now. Because Rebels takes place about 14 years um, after Revenge of the Sith,
Wow,
and we
is it that
have.
long? Yeah.
So I mean, a lot's
Wow.
happened. The Empire's fully the Empire by the time we're watching the Rebels, right? But there's this time period
Yeah.
of the Empire being this glorious thing that ended a war, where clones are still turning into these stormtroopers, and I guess these. So it'll be kind of interesting to see like some sort of transitional period of the Empire, which we've never seen before.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think of that. It's so immediate. That's the coolest part about it. Yeah, I didn't realize there was that big of a time gap. I mean, I knew there was some time. I didn't realize that big between Rebels. I mean, I'm sure I knew it at some point, just forgot. But that's really cool, and man, that changes a lot. It's just a lot of story to tell and a lot of opportunity to tell cool things in between there. I mean, it's no secret that the Rebellion is my favorite time period in Star Wars, and so I couldn't be more excited for that side of it. But that's a good point. Exploring new territory and seeing the rise of the Empire even more might
Right.
be kind of fun.
And I mean, I maybe alone, and probably not. We're not going to see what we episode or this TV series because I just want to see the Empire. I want to see what's going on with the Empire. I want to see what the Empire's doing and things like that because that sounds super intriguing. And I mean, we'll be focusing more on the Bad Batch, obviously, for this, but that does still excite me about the possibility of getting this transitional time period for the Empire, and even when is the the rebellion kind of coming into play? Will the Bad Batch cross over with that at all, or will it not?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. It makes you wonder how much of will we see the Emperor, will we see Vader on screen? Um, if we do, will Vader look as cool as he did in that animation at the end of the Clone Wars? I hope they stick with the same animation. I think that they will because it seemed like a very big hit with the fans this past season. But yeah, that's a good point. That's really cool to think about. I mean, obviously, I always hoped for Vader.
It's always cool. The fan service is always fun.
Yeah, but I would be
Yes, if we
interested.
saw Vader, it would be basically 100% fan service, but
Yeah.
we would still like it. That's why it's called
Oh,
fan service, because you like it.
absolutely. I'd be 100% though for like Bosk and Boba Fett and some of those guys.
Yeah, I think that would
Being
be a cool
kind
way
of
to
direct
incorporate some of the
enemies.
bounty hunter world.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Underworld is just awesome in general. So, uh, what about I'm thinking like how long does Solo take place um, after the Clone Wars? I mean, probably quite a bit of time, but so I probably won't see any
Definitely
lapse
more,
or
but
crossover there. Yeah, probably not, but
I guess you could see like Tobias Beckett even, or because he would be very
right.
active. Even talking about like Aurora Singh could make her death could make an appearance.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting.
maybe we'll see.
That'd be kind of
Maybe we'll see
sad.
him knock Aura Singh off the cliff or whatever he does. But yeah, I uh, I don't
But
know.
it's definitely an
I'm looking
exciting
forward
time
to it.
period. There's a lot to see, and like we said, we have no idea what we're gonna see.
Yeah, it's just exciting to hear about this project, even though it's still a year out. There's been hints for a while that there was more animation being done, and people were like, "Does that mean more Clone Wars?" And I
I
think
think
this
that's
is
what we're
probably what
getting
they were
right
talking
here.
about. Yeah, and even C-3PO doing
Anthony
voice
Daniels
lines.
was
Anthony, I was
reporting
like, why?
some.
Yeah. So is that for this? Do you think C-3PO makes an appearance here in this, or is that something completely different? I don't know. It could be.
C3PO slash Anthony Daniels is everywhere, so I believe it.
Yeah, and that could be the start of the time of the rebellion. I'd love to get Bell Organa and Bray Organa, even Baby Leia, as they start to kind of you know, set set up the rebellion as that goes. Mon Mothma. Um, Maybe you'll even get some subtle hints at you know what Obi Wan's doing and leading up to the Obi Wan show. Nothing major, I don't think, but it's possible.
Right. Could be interesting. For
Yep.
sure. There's definitely a lot to see. All right, well, I think that's it for us. There's a lot of exciting news going on in Star Wars land. Hopefully, we'll get to see more exciting developments, more shows announced, and hopefully more information on the Bad Batch show coming up soon. But that's us from Star Wars Doctrine. Until next time, may the Force be with you.